Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, IONNA, InfyPower, and Eaton. IONNA, North America's premier charging network. With unmatched commitment to elevating the customer experience, IONNA is opening America's roads to all EVs, giving drivers the coverage they need, the reliability they deserve, and the amenities they crave. Also, InfyPower, the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. And Eaton. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware, and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me in the middle of Kansas, where I'm currently on a road trip driving from Colorado all the way to North Carolina, and I wanted to stop in at a few different brand new IONNA charging stations along the way. This is an amazing site, and it's actually IONNA's base level charging location. So what I'm going to do in this video is take you on a few of the brand new IONNA charging sites that have gone in along I-70 here in the Kansas and Missouri area, and just see what they look like. There's been so much buzz and excitement around this new charging network, but really, over the last few months, we haven't seen that many stations. However, that seems to be changing very fast. IONNA is on this exponential growth path, putting in chargers at rapid pace. And well, we're going to be taking a look at a few of the newest ones here on this trip. So join me as we figure out what the IONNA charging experience is actually going to be like. Well guys, proximity to the highway is always super important for a charging site, and that is the highway off-ramp right there. There's also amenities that are needed and a bunch of other stuff, and I'm going to take you on a tour of the first of, I think, 3, maybe 4 sites. I'm pretty sure 3 sites we're going to hit that IONNA's just been building out. And you cannot question the proximity to the highway. I'm looking at it right there. That's I-70 right here in Goodland, Kansas. And it's a real stark difference between the Tesla supercharger across the street and the IONNA station right here. Now, that is not to knock Tesla at all. Tesla has built truly the best and most amazing charging network across the US. We're huge fans of the supercharger network. It just so happens that that site over there, which you can kind of see all the way in that corner, is an old version 2 station that was put next to a Steak and Shake that has since gone out of business. So anytime you go over there, you pretty much have to walk across the street to this, which is a 24/7 travel stop. And honestly, if I had a Tesla, I would much prefer to come here in this particular case. We'll see how that plays out in the rest of the country, but no question this location was needing an updated charging experience, and I'm glad IONNA is here. Before we get into the whole video and go through the location tours, I just want to briefly talk about IONNA. They're so cool. The whole company is like filled with EV drivers, people that know how to build charging infrastructure, and it's a little bit of like cherry picking almost the best in the industry and then just building this world-class experience. Now, I've been talking about that in the videos. You see their advertisements, you know, they work with us on stuff. I absolutely love it. And one of my main goals throughout this year is to sort of follow their build out progress and to cover a lot of what IONNA is doing. And we actually do most of our charging coverage not on this channel, but on our other channel, Out of Spec Bits. And my colleague Walter is really an expert on DC fast charging networks, and he goes in depth on sort of weekly or bi-weekly updates on what's happening in the charging world. So head over to Out of Spec Bits. We have a bunch of episodes on IONNA and other charging networks, so you can keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening. On Out of Spec Reviews, we really do cover mostly cars, but also sort of higher level charging experiences, a little bit like what we're going to do today, which is figuring out what the IONNA experience actually is. Now, I've pulled out some notes and a little graph because we're probably too lazy to overlay this in a video, but here it is. the types of IONNA Rechargeries. I hope you guys can see that okay. The first is a Rechargery relay, which is their basic level. And that's what you're looking at here. It means that you're gonna have IONNA charging dispensers, safe and well-lit charging area, and a canopy is preferred. Restrooms are nearby, food and drink is nearby, and no particular like locked driver lounge. So what you're looking at here is actually the base level charging site, which in my opinion is the nicest charging station I've been to in the Midwest. It's just amazing. They have other levels above this, which would be Rechargery at, which is very similar, and then the full IONNA Rechargery, which I have a video on this channel at their Apex location and also their Garner, North Carolina location. We'll be having a full in-depth tour of that coming soon. I did a quick look at it while it was under construction on Out of Spec Bits. So I just think they're taking the right approach. They understand canopies are super important. They understand high quality charging experience, ease of activation, just being able to rely on chargers is so important. And of course, I think installing enough is really needed. I'm going to take you around the site in a little bit, but it all starts here where the power comes in. So this is the utility transformer. And of course, on the secondary side, they'll have 480 volt three-phase, but I'm just trying to see what capacity they've put in here because I'm not seeing any labeling on the transformer, but this is a juicy one, no question. So you have 750 effective kilowatts of power coming in with kVA factoring in power factor. And then we've got some switch gear over here. Look, Z power and distribution. So, okay, interesting. And they've got some ABB stuff going on in the back. I'm guessing this is the switching matrix box here, the switch gear that can basically feed out to all the sites. I'm not 100% sure what would go here. Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure. What's interesting about this particular site and the way IONNA is doing their chargers so far is they're using the Alpitronic hyperchargers, at least with all these initial launch products. I'm pretty sure they're hardware agnostic, so they might be looking at other hardware as well. Honestly, why? These are so good. They're just absolutely awesome, but I am curious to see what IONNA does in the future in terms of hardware selection. But unlike a typical charging park that you and I have been to, these do not require separate chargers put away and then lines run to them. This is actually the charger and the dispenser all in one. Each one of these are the Alpicharger Hypercharger 400. They're silicon carbide rectifiers in there. There's 4 of them, each consisting of 100 kilowatt stacks. So they're individual 400 kilowatt chargers. So you have, there's no way that that's a 750 kVA transformer unless they're really going to run that thing flat out, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would mean 400 kilowatts times 5, you would need a 2,000 kVA transformer, assuming you're not going to oversubscribe, which the likelihood of ever running these at maximum capacity is very low. So maybe that 750 sticker is either wrong, or they might have some grid limitation issues here where they might have to do a site level balancing. I'm not 100% sure. It's certainly something we can talk about and ask them if they're open or doing those types of things. So in terms of the hardware, they're using the REMA liquid cooled, they're actually Amphenol, sorry. Amphenol immersion cooled cables. So these are super nice. They can go 600 amps. Yeah, these things are just absolutely amazing. These are the same cables that I have spec'd on our Alpitronic Hyper 400 that we're going to be installing. I'm not going to say soon because installing chargers takes forever, but at some point. And you can see the coloring and the stations are labeled in a CCS and NACS configuration. So you have CCS, 3 out of the 5 are CCS, and then 2 out of the 5 are NACS. And I think that correctly matches the mix of vehicles you would expect to see charging here. Yes, more vehicles out in the public, or many of them, have NACS ports. There's a Tesla supercharger right there. So most Tesla owners, at least with early Teslas, can't even charge here because you need to have a CCS enabled vehicle. And then pretty much every Tesla from 2021 onwards is CCS enabled. They still may choose to go over to Tesla just because that's what most Tesla owners are comfortable with the experience. Not me though. You can see I actually have my Model S charging over there. We'll get over there, I'll show you what's going on. I would have my Model S charging here on the native NACS port, absolutely ripping. Now, And I think that probably matches with the mix that I'm expecting. Of course, most drivers will also have an adapter to the other high power charging port. So everyone's going to need an adapter, just one to NACS or one to CCS. And of course, you'll be able to use adapters that are manufacturer approved, even though I would recommend against it if you can go with the native port right here. So let's think about the driver experience at this site. I'm gonna probably not focus on the hardware at the rest of the sites we go to all that much because they're all using the same Alpitronic Hyper 400s. By the way, these are powered. So power is run here. This site is gonna open any minute, but they are set to off right now. Probably just needs final commissioning and then boom, you're ready to go. It is amazing how fast IONNA is building charging infrastructure all over the country. Just rapid fire, because charging takes forever. We've all seen how long charging can take for many companies, and IONNA is just banging these things out. It's awesome. So driver experience, you roll off the highway, you pull in the parking lot right over there, you come ripping down here, full ABS brakes into this awesome corner, then you can handbrake, parallel park it into one of these spots, and I'll walk you through, well, we're actually gonna charge at another one. I'll show everyone how that process works. It's super easy to get charging. And then you get full big boy, 400 kilowatt charging speeds if you want it. In terms of amenities at this location, again, this is a base level IONNA site, which means they did not go through and build their own, lounge or rechargery location situation like we've shown in Apex and like I'm going to show you in Garner. They've actually partnered. In this case, I'm imagining it's a partnership or they leased it, or I'm not sure. Look how beautiful that is, by the way. That is a beautiful charging station. Just need more of that. That is amazing. They've partnered with this 24/7 travel store, which honestly has everything you could ever need. There's a Qdoba here. Don't recommend that Qdoba. That is the worst Qdoba in the country. I only say that because we both got sick eating there, we think. Don't sue us, Qdoba. But hopefully they got a rework on whatever was going on over there. That was a year ago, maybe. But anyway, they have a Qdoba. Approach with caution. And then there's a 24/7 travel store that has everything. Snacks, very clean restrooms, and just a fantastic place to go. In addition to the Rechargery, there's also an air pump here where you can fill up your tires if you need to. There's a dog park attached to the charging station, which as dog owners, we are very excited about. Absolutely love having that as an amenity. And it's just a fantastic place to have everything you could need. There would be no reason that IONNA would need to build their own sort of Rechargery hub or charging lounge when you have a great amenity like this that they can throw a charger in, get it permitted, installed way quicker than having to build a building. And I'm really curious to see what that mix will be into the future. Interestingly, 24/7 Travel Store seems to own and operate their own chargers as well as letting IONNA come in. Who would ever use these now that the IONNA station's in? I'm not sure. First, let's talk about where we are. We're in Goodland, Kansas. No one, let alone, oh, hold on. We got something interesting over here.
Leaves.
Yeah, the leaf. There's no leaf that could even make it here. What's this actually? There's an interesting, wow, I've never seen a solution like this. They have a built-in CHAdeMO adapter. Wow, this is kind of cool. Old school. So this has nothing to do with IONNA, but it's kind of interesting. This is 24/7 Travel Store. So this is the original Tesla CHAdeMO adapter. I've never seen it done this way. Tethered nicely to this little Tesla Connect thing, which if you happen to roll through here with a Tesla, why you wouldn't just go to the supercharger, I'm not sure. I guess there's always, that odd case of Tesla vehicles that have been like salvaged or the supercharger goes down or something, but you're able to use this CHAdeMO adapter to Tesla and charge, which is, again, it's 125 amp limitation. It doesn't really work all that fast, but it does work well. I should also mention this CHAdeMO adapter doesn't work, that's how it was, doesn't work with Cybertruck. Cybertruck does not allow any CHAdeMO charging. So what's interesting is 24/7 Travel Store had a pretty good charging experience. They're using these BTC chargers that are 100 kilowatt output with 200 amp cables. So I'm getting just over, like 80 kilowatts to my Model S right here. And so, I would much prefer to just go over and plug in to the IONNA station, get full power. And to be honest, I have no idea how much they're charging me. Nowhere on here does it list the pricing of what these are going to be. And so I have no idea what I'm paying for charging right now, but it could be shockingly expensive or cheap. I'm not sure. But anyway, I figured we'd plug in since we came over here to film the IONNA station. And even just with this thing sitting at 83 kilowatts, by the time I got in, we got some snacks and we filmed this video, we've already put in almost 40 kilowatt hours to the Model S. So better than nothing. And we didn't have to walk across the street to the old version 2 supercharger. So no question, this is a fantastic place for charging. I think it's really interesting how we're starting to see charging competition even in the same area. Tesla superchargers, their own 24/7 travel store chargers, which was an easy activation. Again, plug, tap the card and charge, same like IONNA. And then you have the serious flagship charging location right there behind me, that IONNA Goodland location. This is going to make travel through Kansas so much easier, so much nicer. The only thing I wish that they included here, because it does seem to me, you can see kind of where the concrete starts over here. It does seem to me that everything back here was new construction. I really would have loved to see a charging dispenser put here. I know it's weird, but I think they could have widened this a little bit, put in a turnaround circle for a truck and a trailer, and then had a sort of parallel pull-through trailer spot. And you could either approach it from this way if you have a charging port on the left side of your vehicle, or you could turn around and approach it this way if you had a charge port on the right side of your vehicle. That would have been the icing on the cake for this one. But hey, how much can we complain? Well, I always got to find something to complain about, but how much can we complain when you're right off the highway with 400 kilowatt big boy chargers under a canopy with a convenience store with everything you can need and a dog park? Absolutely amazing. If the rest of the sites are even half as good as this, I think we're in for a completely changed EV charging landscape. It's getting really windy. The Model S is ready to rock and roll. It's time to go hit some more IONNA stations and actually charge at them, because we're going to some that are actually online and ripping. So let's go juice this thing up at the next station. And viewers, now you join us about, I don't know, an hour and a half down the road to WaKeeney, Kansas. We're just heading east at the moment, and this is an IONNA Rechargery that is open and available. So let me show you the user experience. Very similar site design, almost identical to what we saw at the last one, which is 5 dispensers that can split those 400 kilowatts to 200 kilowatt output, or in granularity of 50 kilowatt switching. And one thing I did see, and I'm not sure why this is the case, or if this will be at all IONNA stations. I don't know if this is something that 24/7 Fuel made them put in, but it says EV parking preferred, all vehicles welcome. Well, they've got a massive parking lot here, so I'm not 100% sure why they can't just say EVs only. Granted, I don't think people are going to park back here. I'm always a fan of putting EV charging just a little bit inconveniently located so that normal cars don't like take the front of the spot. But there's a great amenities here. I'm going to show you guys around that. Let me show you the way to start charging. So come on over here. I haven't touched anything yet. So I'm going to charge on 1A, I believe will be this one right here. And you can see we have a native NACS with my Tesla Model S. So I'm going to click 1A. If I can actually touch it. There we go, 1A. And now I'm going to pull up my Apple Pay, and I'm going to present your payment now. And it does put a $50 hold on my card. I wish there was a way where they could just bill you afterwards, but just like filling up with gas, holds are not uncommon. Actually, even our charger at the office does the same thing. So now it says approved. So it's thinking, and now I should be able just to plug in. Authenticating, okay. I'm gonna take the NACS connection. In I go. And to also be super clear, you can use the ChargePoint app to activate this. You can use a bunch of other apps to activate IONNA. IONNA is very, very proud of their roaming situation. So they roam with pretty much anyone. And also, the partner automakers to IONNA will, if not all of them, but most of them support plug and charge as well, which will be really pretty cool. So it's initializing, it's preparing power delivery, hang tight. We're making sure all systems are a go, and we're ripping. We're well over 140 kilowatts now, right there off the bat. 150, 165, come on, baby. Let's go. What does charging detail do? Oh, we've got curves. Love it. Love these Alpitronic units. We're at 500 amps, 515 amps, 536, And we're ripping right now 230 kilowatts or so, 540 amps. Absolutely love it. This is our average power. It's going to go up as we've ramped up. We've plugged in at 28%, ripping 545 amps, 237 kilowatts right there. Absolutely awesome. Now, the Tesla doesn't have the best charging curve, but you know, this is still another fantastic site. You just pull right off the highway, boom, plug in. Let's take a look at the site over here. First of all, huge props to IONNA for offering trash can and a filled up and ready to rock and roll windshield washing situation. Should we do it real quick? Just, the viewers are gonna freak out. We've never done this. No, the windshield's clean, but just to show everyone it can work. Woohoo! There we go, look at that. Nice. Having amenities like this may seem kind of silly, especially if someone's just buying an electric car for the first time or just getting into, you know, road tripping an EV. But I've been road tripping EVs for certainly the better part of 10 years, back before even high power charging stations were everywhere. I remember used to have to stop at campgrounds and stuff like that. Now we've got canopied charging stations that don't honestly come out far enough, but will keep you dry pretty much for the plugging in process. So I think that's okay, and visually I think this looks great. It gets the job done. So not only do we have canopies, we also have trash cans, which so many charging stations do not have, and this is really the kicker, having the windshield washing situation. It's kind of everything you need. Tire fill is also nice to have, and a couple other things at the IONNA Big Boy Rechargery stations. And they also have this Rechargery beacon. I'm not even sure what that is. Maybe that's like a super top level situation. I'm not sure. Or it could be like the other way, but I think it's like nicer. They have like their own windshield washer fill, some other things. So anyway, here we are in the middle of Kansas, not stuck at a Walmart location. Beautiful views everywhere you look. And this insanely nice IONNA Rechargery. I love that it's got native NACS. How nice is that? And it's over 500 amps, which is nice. Let's take a look at some of the equipment at this site. So this is Midwest Energy. We have the same switchgear over here, the same conduit coming out of the ground, which means there might be room for another one of these cabinets if they decide to go from 10 stalls to 20, I guess would be the idea if they want to double this site up or add more capacity. Let's see if we can find, this thing's buzzing, if we can find any mention of the power output on these. 351, there's no way. Dielectric fluid, warnings. So it's interesting in Kansas how these are just not rated. Huh. This thing's only put out 32 kilowatt hours. If I read that correctly, but I don't know if I did. Anyway, not sure. We're on the secondary side, so that could probably just be for, it's the beginning of the month, so maybe that's why. Anyway, not sure how much power that is, but again, same site where you would need, you know, a couple megawatts of power. And to take a look at the amenities, why don't you guys join me over this way? So I also want to mention the price. Right now, IONNA has their pricing set at 39 cents per kilowatt hour, which is incredibly reasonable. Considering we checked at the last location, that little 24/7 BTC 100 kilowatt unit, that was 69 cents, 59 cents per kilowatt hour. I recently just charged our Rivian R1S at a EVgo Pilot Flying J site, which was almost 70 cents per kilowatt hour. It would have cost over $100 to fill that up. And here, 39 cents per kilowatt hour. Not cheap, but just feels right to me. That's the right pricing. Now, IONNA's gonna play around with pricing to look at demand, to look at, you know, how that all works. But I really think when you get out on a road trip, most people probably aren't road tripping most of the time. I think amenities and locations do take a little bit more preference over the exact per kilowatt hour rate, but there's a limit because most people are road tripping with large, inefficient electric cars. Think Rivian. Well, gravity's efficient, but also large and requires a lot of energy. Hummer, that's what Alyssa's suggesting, Hummer. And, you know, price can become a factor. So I think as long as you're in the region of around 40 to 45 cents per kilowatt hour for high power DC charging, at that point, I'm pretty okay with it. I'll go anywhere. Once you start getting up into the 60, 70, 80 cent per kilowatt hour, I go, yeah, that's way too far. And on the other hand, on the cheap side, if you could find 20, 25 cents per kilowatt hour, maybe worth giving up some amenities to go find that cheaper electricity. For the canopy coverage, the access to the highway, having, again, another 24/7 stop here. I should mention, let's just walk down this way. There's an attached McDonald's at this particular location, not a Qdoba. There's a Subway across the street, really nice, big area. Oh, and a little dog situation, nice catch there, love that. You know, when you start getting into a situation like this where you come to one place, everything you could possibly need, you grab a snack, you grab a bite to eat, the car's filled up, you clean the windshield, you go, I think 39 cents seems like a bargain. I think IONNA could, not that I'm advocating for them to do this, but I really think what's the most I would reasonably pay for this charging experience without even thinking twice about it, I think 47 cents per kilowatt hour is my maximum. So if you take a look over this way, just to show you the amenities, same travel store, these are super nice. McDonald's is right there, and there we have it. So thanks so much for joining us at this station. If you take a look that way, it's beautiful right there. We are going to be heading out to the next one, which is, I forget the name of it, but we'll find out when we get there. This was awesome, wasn't it? Man, I'm loving the IONNA road tripping. Welcome to Abilene, Kansas, another IONNA site. You can pretty much cross Kansas using IONNA exclusively, which is pretty cool. And that's not like a small feat. I'm gonna try just like a little bit of a different way of activation at this site. I'm gonna take this, point it at the charge port. It opens up just like a supercharger. Plug in. Maybe they'll get plug and charge to work with Tesla one day. I'm not the biggest fan of the screen being on this side, if I'm honest. I do prefer a front-facing screen. So it says 1A ready, so I don't even have to touch anything. I can just plug in. I can tap my card. It's already preloaded this side. Oh, that's so much better than going through and clicking 1A, and you just plug, tap, walk away. That's the way to do it. And then, of course, like I think BMW and Mercedes already do plug and charge. IONNA does support auto charge, which in theory Tesla supports, because Tesla has plug and charge with EVgo. So it's possible. This one's 38 cents per kilowatt hour. Wasn't it 39 cents at the last one? So this is a little cheaper over here. Interesting. Yeah, they're playing around with pricing at all these different stations. But I think it is going to be pretty possible for plug and charge to work if they all do plug and charge. Tesla does support ISO 15118 certificate exchange. However, I don't believe that works on any network except superchargers, if I remember correctly. So we literally plugged in, tapped, didn't touch anything on the screen. That's a great situation. And we're charging. 8% state of charge arrival at this one. We keep arriving with plenty because we keep filming these charging stations. So let's see the charging details. Now, the one thing the Tesla didn't do is precondition. There is a way to get it to precondition to a non-Tesla charger, but my buddy Sky just commented on my post on Twitter and said, man, he really wishes that there was this was built into the Tesla trip planner. I totally agree. So this is getting everything the car wants at like 10 or 11%. The Model S will ramp up to full power. It's got a little bit of an awkward charging curve depending on temperatures, but it should ramp up in a second. Let's take a look at the site. First of all, the lighting. Okay, just to put this in context, there's not much lighting at all in this parking lot. We'll get to why that's maybe not so great. But just having the canopy alone with these lights, this is my first time ever at an IONNA station at night. It's bright. It feels really bright. It's wonderful. And so I think that just leads to a much safer feeling experience. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, there are charging station safety issues at night. So I've done videos on it before, but it just feels so much better than sitting, you know, we are in the back of a parking lot, but just in the dark. This is a really nice thing. You can at least see everything that's going on. Again, another site with trash cans and windshield washer situations. We are going to hit up the windshield washers because we got covered in bugs. And an identical setup. We have 2 stations with 2 NACS ports each, and 3 stations with 2 CCS ports over here on this side. A little bit different of a electrical situation going on over here. This is kind of interesting. So we've got, looks like someone came through and mowed the lawn. Oh, this is kind of cool. They've got a bunch of little cameras around, I guess. Are these like ring cameras? I don't even know what to call this thing. Gazebo, yes, thank you. And this one's actually got a really nice sign out in front of it. It looks beautiful from the road. The thing that they're doing right is you can actually see this site coming down the highway, because if you look up on top, they've got the IONNA sign right there on top of the canopy. Totally visible, great to see this. And you've just got, you know, beautiful branding right here. There's another sign here that indicates the Chuck Wagon. Not exactly sure what that would be. I'm also not sure what this is. Let's see. Invent Hoffman. Is this like a site level controller? Would be the only thing I could think. I have no idea what this is. I can ask the IONNA guys what's going on. This is, yeah, switchgear. Yep. Okay, interesting. So that's some switchgear. And then this is also switchgear. This is the same thing we've seen at all the other sites. This is the power and distributions box with a big emergency stop on the side. And then we've got the transformer over here. I'm guessing also with no information on it. We will check. Oh, we've got more information on this one. Howard Industries. I'm sure we could even look up this if we needed to. Wow, interesting that they're using 3 different transformers all in Kansas, but I'm not seeing no KVAs on this thing. We'll probably see it here though. KVA 1500. Yep. So 1500 KVA on that Howard Industries one. Now, again, just to do math, because we have 400 times 5. I should be able to do that in my head. 2000 KVA, duh. I was just sleeping in the car, please forgive me. Math also isn't my strong suit. It means that if you were to rip every station flat out, you would oversubscribe that transformer, which might be why they have a site level controller there. I'm just guessing that's what that box is. I have no idea. Or they could just oversubscribe the transformer for a little bit, because there's almost no possibility of that ever happening unless we host the Hummer EV meetup here one day and just plug everything in at the same time. To this amenities at the site, this is where it feels not great. Is this the Chuck Wagon? Is the Chuck Wagon new or old? Old, okay, maybe going out of business. So what IONNA needs to do is buy the Chuck Wagon and turn this into their little lounge. I can tell it's not too old though, because the computer screen in the drive-thru is still on. So I didn't know if it was just under construction or not, but you can see the little payment terminal thing is lit up in there. And it does seem all fairly new. You think it's old? It looks nice. There's no like wasp nest or anything up in there. Yeah, it looks freshly painted. Maybe it's just coming in. Yeah, no, there's stuff going on in there for sure. So I'm thinking this might just not be open yet, or it's under renovation. But the reason we know it's not totally functional is their menu is pretty sparse at the moment. So they should at least add a couple things on offer. But if you just look from back here, the IONNA station itself is great. This, as far as I can tell though, no restrooms, no food. The closest restrooms would be that Holiday Inn Express and Suites right over there. I also think it's worth mentioning that coming off the highway, there was another one of those 24/7s, this one with an RB that we drove by. I assumed it was there, but it was not. It's over here. And then the Tesla supercharger is right over there. And actually that 24/7, we'll go by and show some viewers. Alyssa, I think this is the one that removed some gas pumps or added the canopy and put EV chargers next to the gas pumps. We've been to that one before. I'm looking over there. I think that's it. So as we pull out of here, I'll show everyone that site and then we'll go to the next. I think that's kind of cool. But in general, the site itself, again, just this, if this is the standard install, this canopy's higher. This is 11 foot 6 inches. So one of the ones earlier was 10 foot something. If this is the standard install, then it's perfect. This is all we need. We just need to make sure there's restrooms and food and snacks here as well. And so that's where I'm hoping that this turns into something, but man, I don't know. This is definitely the worst one of the bunch. The site itself is nice, the amenities, not so nice. And you know what? I'd still take their worst one over almost any other public charging experience I've been to. Also, dog park, we should mention. Didn't notice that, but there is a dog park here. Let's take a look at the charging performance. Not that our car can get anywhere close to maxing out the 400 kilowatts, but I can hear the fans ripping on it. And let's see how we're juicing up, and then we'll leave you guys as we head to the next one. So just to show you this really quick, I've got to go to active sessions, then I'm going to go to 1A, which is where we are, and we're doing 175 kilowatts at 38%, which doesn't seem that great. We did peak at 258 kilowatts though. So the station's not limiting the car, it's all the car. But hey, this thing gave the Model S all the juice it wanted, which is awesome. So we'll charge up till we can make it to the next one, then we'll blast. Guys, this is a pretty cool site, also right across the highway from where we were. These are not always the fastest or best chargers in my opinion, but pretty cool to see all of those fueling pumps. And then in the same canopy, you can also see the EV charging stations all right there. So, you know, they have just a couple here, just like most of these 24/7 travel stores, but you know, it's perfect if you're just running in, getting a little something done. It's awesome. I've charged here before on a road trip and worked out pretty well. So, and then the supercharger is just on the other side of that Burger King right over that way. So yeah, nice spot to stop if you're ever cruising through Kansas. Abilene has got all the charging. I love that we're starting to see like multiple different charging providers popping up along major highways. It's pretty exciting. It's what I've been waiting for. Welcome to Blue Springs, Missouri. It is the next day, and we're just on the east side of Kansas City. So we actually stayed in Kansas City last night. I put the car on a level 2 charger, which was only 24 amps. So it got up to about 55% by the time we were gonna leave. Yeah, not great. I do like having Hopetel charging with high amperage charging, but of course I'll take whatever kind of free juice they're given. That's awesome. So we're here at about 40-something% state of charge. This is a perfect location on the way in or way out of Kansas City on the east side. Beautiful spot, tons of shops, anything you could possibly need in this giant shopping center around here. It's also a Burger King right here with a Phillips 66 fueling station, and there's a bunch of great amenities inside. So let's get charging up. I'll show everyone this process, and then we'll take a look at this site tour. Again, another, I think we can call these standard IONNA stations now, which is cool. One thing I haven't shown you yet is the cable management on these Alpi units. Check this out. You can pull these things out far. That's awesome. Love that. And here we have, again, another Amphenol connection. So what I'm going to do is just plug in. Again, I hit the button on the top to open the charge port. I'm going to grab my Apple Pay. I'm going to tap my card. Boom, and I'm going to walk away, and I don't have to touch anything, don't have to activate anything. I love that when you select the port and plug in, it automatically configures the payment terminal where you can then tap to pay. So it's a plug, tap, walk away. And of course, cars with plug and charge will just be plug, walk away. Really love that. So let's take a look at this site. It is the standard IONNA site. Trash cans, windshield washer, and 10 stalls, 4 of which are NACS only, and 6 of which are CCS only. And I haven't really even shown you much on the CCS side, but this is, again, Amphenol connection right here, immersion cooled, super lightweight. A lot of people think the switch to NACS is gonna make like the interface easier. Well, cables are still cables, so putting a NACS port at the end actually sometimes makes it harder because you don't have a little handle to actually get the twisting in. Amphenol does have a new handle version for their NACS connection. I just checked, the Model S is charging totally fine, which is great. And so I don't know, I like the idea of going with these oil immersion cooled cables because you can get high amperage with a easily bendable cable. Tesla version 4 cables are very similar to this. But the actual plug end is not what makes it easier or harder. Now, when you get to the inlet port, certainly this is a little bit harder than the NACS port to interface, but yeah, the transition to NACS, a lot of people are gonna find public NACS chargers that are just awful to operate, and it's really nothing to do with the plug type, more to do with the cable itself. I'm noticing here, actually, this is a little interesting, and the same over there, the cable managements are getting stuck on these little signs here. I also, especially in a busier retail location like this at Phillips 66, I really wish they didn't have the all vehicles welcome, because icing will become a problem. And so I'm noticing, again, these are getting hung up on these signs. So if they just moved it 1 inch to the right and just gave a little bit more clearance, you can see the same problem over here. This would make the site look just a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer. This one actually is really hard to get around. Okay, interesting. We'll let that go in over there. Yeah, so we again have not only trash cans, windshield washer, we have the dog waste bag and trash situation, which is great. Every single IONNA station we've been to so far, I think we've been to 30 ports that are functioning, right? Because we've been to 3 stations with 10 ports each, and then 1 was not open yet, those were offline. But every single online station, we haven't seen a single fault, not a single issue, nothing like that. Granted, this is all brand new equipment. I wouldn't expect to see an issue or anything, but just pretty interesting to say the least. We do not have a transformer here, interestingly. So their transformer, I guess, is this unit over here, and it's 750 kVA, which again just seems low for the site output. So it's possible they're doing site level limitations, with all of these. We're gonna have to talk to them a little bit about that, because that is not even enough power to run 2 of those units at 100% capacity. Of course, you can oversubscribe a little bit, but I just get the sense that there needs to be either another transformer, there could be one over there, don't know. So that's kind of interesting. And then we have, again, just that same switchgear situation right here with all of the conduit running in and out to all the chargers. And then this, which is at every site, which also probably has some sort of switchgear related situations. Yeah, I gotta ask the IONNA guys what each one of these, the way they have them configured, because from my perspective, they're just boxes and I don't know what's going on inside of them. So I think this really marks the end of our tour, visiting 4 IONNA sites, 1 that's about to open, 3 that are open along the I-70 corridor, basically through Kansas. Yeah, we're in Missouri right now, but just on the leading edge of Missouri. And if the experience can be like this across the entire country, then electric car ownership would become so much easier. Not only is it great that you're able to rely on the chargers, they're simple and easy to use, and they're fast. And that's kind of everything we need. Now, I'm really curious to see what more sites look like. I really love the idea in terms of getting stations in the ground sooner, with them partnering with fantastic retailers across the country. It also means you're getting a little bit different experience every time you go to an IONNA station. For example, one of my favorite restaurant chains right over there, Chipotle, you can plug in here, grab a Chipotle, and hit the road. I do like variety, so I'm not a huge fan of just building the same identical charging experience with a charging hub and lounge, similar to the Porsche charging network in Germany, where you have the same thing at every site. I do like a little bit of variety, so having a little bit of IONNA stations like this with a canopy tacking onto an existing retailer is awesome. And then also, when there really is no amenity around, building their own high quality, really cool experiences. Just putting a couple little highlights around the country, that makes a lot of sense to me. And we'll be visiting their Garner location soon, which is going to be absolutely amazing, because I got to visit it under construction. So here we are with another 10 charging ports. We've yet to see another car at an IONNA station. And I think there's a couple reasons for this. First of all, they're new. Not many people know about them. They're all just went online. That's why I'm making this video, of course, so people can seek them out. They don't have an app yet, or at least not that I can find. I got to ask them about that. But there's no easy app to find just IONNA stations. And so I do think, while I appreciate them not wanting to go for an app and not want to make EV drivers download an extra app and sign up for a membership at this point in time, I do think that having their own app to find their stations, it's about to start becoming needed, which would be really cool. But I do love the fact that there's just one price. You plug in, you tap, you pay, you go. I'm sure that won't stick around forever, but I think it's super cool right now that That's awesome. I also think automakers need to build in IONNA sites into their route planners. Tesla really needs to consider adding IONNA sites into their vehicles. I would love to see Tesla support plug-in charge here with IONNA, whether they do it through auto charge, which would require really nothing on Tesla's side, and then it could just work. I just want to see Tesla implement it into their trip planner. Same with Rivian as well. I already put the request into Rivian to show IONNA stations and to include them in the trip planners. Once stuff like that starts happening, once the word gets out, I think we'll start to see more vehicles around. But just an incredible charging experience. It's everything I think we've all wanted. It's great branding, it's high quality chargers, it's nice maintenance, thoughtful design, nice wide spaces for charging, bright lights at night for safety, and cameras, of course. I'm just a huge fan of all of this. I love that they have a specific NACS section and a CCS section. The station we were at last night, Alyssa, we didn't mention, but didn't have any of the paint down yet. Right, but I think that's coming. I think that was just like super brand new, just opened. So from my perspective, they just get it. Let's take a look to see how we're charging over here and see how things are going. It's a little bit awkward getting over to the screen, I have to say, with the cable all around. I do think a front screen would be better. So I can come here to active sessions. We're already up to 62%. We've been here for 7 minutes. Charging detail, yeah, showed up with not a preconditioned battery. That's just Model S right there. Let's take a look at costs. What are they charging here? 39 cents per kilowatt hour. Yeah, so we haven't seen anything over 40 cents per kilowatt hour yet at this particular location. So, man, there you guys have it. The one thing that I hope IONNA does in the future, because I've been to a lot of canopied charging sites, like there's nests and bees and other stuff that get all up in here. I don't see anything at any of these, but they're all brand new. I just hope that they keep in mind that the people who come and service the sites, they got to get all the nasty stuff out, because all the bugs will come in the middle of the night because they're all attracted to the lights. You'll see spiders and all this other stuff. I went to an EVgo Pilot Flying J once, and there was like, it looked like, I don't know what I was going to do, but I thought I was going to burn the whole place down. There was like tarantulas running around up there. It was crazy. Anyway, with that said, that just is a little maintenance request from my side. With that said, I'm going to clean up the windshield on the Model S. I absolutely loved this charging experience. I absolutely am thrilled to have IONNA as a partner at Out of Spec. To me, it just feels really cool that we're able to work with companies that clearly do care about the EV driver experience. That's not to say they're going to have a perfect rollout and everything's going to be amazing, but at least up to this point, it kind of does seem that way. They're just doing it right. They're interviewing people, they're taking feedback, they're adjusting in real time, and I think they are going to really become the leading charging network in the US, right up there with the supercharger network. So thanks so much for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video. We've got a lot more driving to do, but those are some IONNA sites for you. We'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.